The last question that I wanted that the jury sent out before I want to go on to our next topic is they said, can the exhibit list be amended to include the indictment? Now, the interesting thing is the indictment obviously is not evidence. And like in state court, they don't send the indictment back. But in federal court, especially here in the Southern District, they routinely, the judges routinely send the indictment back to the jury.
Right. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even over your objection, I mean, you could object and say, Judge, it's not evidence, it shouldn't go back there. No, I send the indictment back all the time.
One of the problems with that is that if you look at the federal charges in the abstract, without the indictment, sometimes the charge is a little bit loose and confusing. And so the judges, I think, intend the indictment to inform the charge, but what I think it really does is dilutes the charge and distracts from it.
Now, the funny thing is sometimes sending the indictment back can work to your advantage when the prosecutor's narrative in the indictment is way different from what the facts were at a trial. So sometimes it can be an advantage to you.
Well, I'd like to know what the answer to that question was, because I certainly do not think that the judge or the indictment could possibly be amended as part of the exhibit list. I mean,
I don't think it can either.
I would see that as a huge problem.
Well, how are they sending them back? Like you said, in your experience in in your federal jury trials, you say that it's routinely sent back. Is it sent back as not as an exhibit, but as a?
It's sent as a demonstrative piece of evidence that's just there for them to look at and to take inference from. And ultimately, what ends up happening is they follow the indictment and they read the indictment as though if that is the case, instead of following what came out during the course of the case and ultimately what the exhibits showed. And as Sean explained, the charge itself is what the jury should be following, and ultimately they end up sitting there sifting through this indictment and said, well, I think this may have happened, and I think this may have happened, so he's probably guilty of these particular counts.
Are you all surprised at how fast it went?
The Manafort trial?
Mm-hmm.
No. In fact, I think it took longer than I expected.
Really?
Yeah, I think they did a good job at slowing the freight train.
6 days or so? 5 or 6?
This is not a complex case.
No, it's not.
This is a case that...
There wasn't a lot of witnesses.
Well, I thought he had bank accounts all over the world, and he had these accountants and CPAs who were doing things, and then this other guy who's snitching is around. 6 days?
I think that's a reasonable amount of time to try that case.
I think the government did that on purpose. I don't think the government wanted to overexpand on exhausting jurors with an abundance of financial records that's ultimately going to just exhaust the process of them deliberating this case. What they wanted to do is show, look, here's what happened, here's the money trail, here's Gates coming in here to say that this guy's a total fraudster, and we want you to find him guilty. And they think that could get him there. That may ultimately be a problem for them, so we'll wait and see.